letting go. It sounds so simple. You hear it all the time. Oh, just let it go. Let it go. Well, is it really that simple? I don't think it is. I think it's more complicated and it comes with a lot of baggage. To say just let it go denotes that it's like taking a balloon and just releasing it into the air. But that's not how it really is. Currently, I'm going through a situation which has gone on far, far too long, but I have to let it go because I cannot control the outcome. It is completely out of my hands. And it's been out of my hands for a while. But in the back of my mind, even though I keep saying I'm letting it go, I'm letting it go, I have to admit there's still some anger there. And that's why I'm having trouble letting it go because I'm looking for justice and justice may not be served. And I don't know that and I can't control that. So before I get to my other panelist, Jacqueline, I just wanted to say that I'm guest hosting this platform for Motivational Mondays. I'm Teresa Palmer. I'm a holistic cardiology nurse practitioner, author of the book Heal Your Heart from Within. And the main work that I do is with women. Yes, I do general cardiology also, but my work is mainly with women, helping them to have lasting transformation or change. And by that, I mean you have to engage your heart. Your heart has to get engaged in order for change to be lasting because of emotional intelligence, the emotional engagement, the authenticity, and all that. So that's who I am. And now I will turn it over to Jacqueline, who will give you an introduction of who she is and give her take on, is it simple to let go?
It is absolutely not that simple. People make it seem like it's simple, but it's really not. So let me just start out with thank you, Teresa, for us being here today. I am Jacqueline Brown, and I am a sovereign leadership architect, and I help women go to their next dimension in their life because we don't stay in one place. So high performing women sometimes get in a place where I've arrived. And I help them to see that there are more arrivals and to tap into those things that they didn't really know existed. These are very high performing, powerful women that still have so much that is untapped. And a lot of times they don't realize it because they don't understand what it means to operate in their sovereign power and to place that into whether it's corporate, whether it's community advocacy, ministry, whatever it is, tapping into your sovereign power and leading from that place gives you even more that you're going into those higher dimensions and you're operating from them. Uh, Letting go. Well, I'm going to start here, Teresa. There comes a time when I take my glasses off for this one. There comes a time when holding on stops being, well, I got to be loyal. And sometimes letting go has to be becoming who you are and not feeling that it's some type of betrayal for someone else. Because when it's time to let go and you don't, the only person that you're betraying is yourself. That's self betrayal. Letting go is not always a loss. Sometimes it's just plain wisdom. And sometimes it's obedience. Sometimes it is the I'm going to say holiest form of your self-respect. You don't have to release because you're weak. You release and let go because you finally understand that peace, clarity, and wholeness should not have to be a place that you beg to have. It should not be a place where in your life it's just non existent because you may be holding on to some other things. Now, what happens when it's time to let go and you don't let go? Teresa, you tapped on this. You didn't use these words, but I'm going to say it maybe just a little more raw. Sometimes bitterness sets in, sometimes anger, revenge, and you really find yourself needing to over explain yourself because you're letting go. So when you hold on and it's not time and it's time to let go, and it's no longer time for you to hold on to those things that are not serving you as well as others. It's not about being selfish. It's about, is it serving you as you serve others? So some doors close because we've served the purpose for that particular assignment. Some people shift because their assignment in their life is moving to another level. And then sometimes people shift because their assignment in our lives or their life is complete. And so it comes that time to let go. And Teresa, I'm going to hand it to you because this is going to be a great conversation. We could talk about this a lot. So I want to tell me what you think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. In order to let go, you have to do the inner work. That means if there's any anger, you have to come to terms with it, and you really have to believe it. And I think part of not letting go is we want to hold on to something that once we let go, it may be a disappointment. It may be a disappointment for us because, especially if you have no control over the situation and you want a certain outcome,
Mhm.
you would like outcome A because outcome A benefits you. It's a fair outcome, say.
Mhm.
It's maybe something that you've been looking forward to, but that may not be what's in the cards for you. There may be another plan, and it goes down the drain because now you have to you're forced to let go if a decision is made about something, about, say, a career or something personal. If a decision is made, you have to let go of it. And you have to be prepared before that decision is made to
Mhm.
know that the outcome may not be in your favor. But as human beings, we don't like to hear that.
Mhm.
We don't want to think about that. We want to think, oh, everything's going to work out and this is going to happen and this is how I'm going to plan it and this is what I'm going to do. But again, that may not be what the plan is. And I think we get afraid, and it's a real fear to accept that plan of what do I do if what I think should happen that I'm having trouble letting go of. I'm holding on to it because I think the outcome should be this. What then do I really do when the outcome is that? And you have to be prepared to face those feelings. And we don't like to face feelings, unfortunately, because we've been conditioned that logically in our brain we should always be happy. That, oh, don't think negative. Oh, don't do this. Oh, think positive and it'll happen. Well, yeah, in some circumstances it does, but even thinking positive without believing it and without accepting the fact that the positive outcome may not be what you believe is positive. So there's so much that goes into it. And it's a scary place to be. Do you can't help but fear an outcome that may not be in your favor because then it's like, okay, I've exhausted all avenues, or what do I do now? Or, oh, I wanted that promotion so bad. And now what do I do? Because I really believe that was my fast track. and now it's been taken away from us. And I think that's the key. Something has been taken away from us if we believe that way, and that makes us the victim. If we believe that, okay, this is what I would like to see happen, but I need to let go of the outcome. I don't want to be attached to that outcome because it may not be. And if we accept that ahead of time and say, okay, I would like X to happen, but if Y or Z happens, well, then I'm going to have to come up with another plan. If that's not my lot in life, then I'm going to have to do something else, or I'm going to have to think of a different way of looking at it. So I always see positive thinking also as having another plan. That to me, that's positive thinking. Not saying, oh, if you think it, you become it. Yeah, there's with the brain and all, there is something to be said about that. But that's mostly with repetition, that the way you believe, you begin to act certain ways, which, yes, do increase your chances of something that you want going on. But I really believe the positive thinking is not about, oh, this plan is going to work out or X amount of things are going to happen. It's more about, okay, it's fine if this works out the way I would like it to. But if it doesn't, here's where I'm going to go from there. I'm either going to change careers, I'm going to look for something new. This is what I'm planning to do with the outcome. And to me, that's real positive thinking and really being able to let go because you're not putting, for lack of a better phrase, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket and you're not planning that that is going to come true because you just don't know. Life is going to manifest the way life is going to manifest, with or without your involvement. So, what do you think about that?
No, you bring up some really great points. And there's a lot of times when you talk about the heart because it's just so important and people miss it. And as you've stated so many times, they're in their head. And so as you were talking, and I was thinking that there comes that sacred moment in life when our heart and our spirit grows tired of carrying something that our soul never agreed to keep forever. It's like you stated, we may think, oh, this is what happens if this happens. But there are times when our soul is literally not meant to keep carrying something. And our spirit is telling us that and our heart is telling us that. But for some reason, we stay weighted with it. There's a moment when the weight of holding on becomes heavier than the grief of just releasing it and saying, okay, now I need to move on to the next thing and not, as you said, think of it as being negative or being a failure. There are times when truth begins to sort of whisper at us, and it just begins to tell us that it's time to let go of you've served your purpose. It's time to let go and move on. And then there's the part where it's really speaking to us and saying, it's time to let go because it's draining you because you've held on to it longer than your purpose is destined for. There's the quiet voice that will tell us it's time to let go of what continues to dishonor you. Sometimes there are things that we've held on to them so long, they start to dishonor us because we didn't let go. And then there's times when it's time to let go of what keeps asking you to prove your worth to people, places, and patterns. And sometimes some of those things, not all, some of those things are really that we need to let go of are built to protect our peace. So I don't think of letting go as weakness. I don't think that sometimes when, as you said, you have another plan B, well, it doesn't mean that plan A is a failure. It doesn't mean that you're giving up. But here's something that it does mean when you let go, it means that your discernment is on point. And that's something I think we don't want to miss. And the discernment is going to come from the heart. Our discernment is going to come from the inner part of who we really are down on the inside. And when we listen to that heart and then apply it with our intellect, that's called maturity. That's the evidence that we have finally come into agreement and an alignment with what our heart, our spirit has really been trying to tell us all along. Because not everything is meant to hurt us that we decide we're not going to hold on to anymore. Not everything that shaped us is always meant to stay with us forever. Not everyone who walked with us is assigned to walk with us in the next season. And I think sometimes when we get so deep in our head, worrying about, well, now what do I do? Well, is this supposed to be, am I supposed to go into the next season with this or not? It's okay for it to be not, because some things were meant to teach us. Some relationships are only meant to help reveal who we really are. And some seasons, I'll say, are only meant to break the version of us that keeps settling for less. See, sometimes we're settling, and sometimes that version needs to be broken, and sometimes that includes letting go and allowing truth, allowing peace and more alignment to come in. So what do you think now, Teresa?
I think definitely you made some good points. And I think we always view letting go in general as losing something, or I didn't succeed at something, or, oh, my life would be so much easier if this, because then I don't have to think about an alternative. But the truth is that in order to grow and to move on, we have to let go. And I'm going to use, I'm not being morbid here, but if you look at death, I work in healthcare, and I've had, I'm going to say I've had the honor of uh, of being with people or seeing people when they are transitioning, when they are going from the life as we know it to another life. And yes, sometimes there's a bit of a struggle, but then there's always peace. The features soften, it's come to terms with. And that allows someone then to transition into something else, because we don't know what that afterlife is. Nobody's come back to tell us what the next step is. But in order for that to happen, you have to let go of where you are right now. So, taking that example and using it more generally, yeah, if we keep holding on to something, technically we're really dying inside. Our soul is dying a little bit, our authenticity is dying a little bit. We're adding stress to our lives because we're not allowing that opportunity to grow. And if you think of a butterfly, the caterpillar, if that caterpillar held on and refused to come out of that cocoon, I mean, eventually the cocoon would burst around it, and it would have to. But I had the pleasure of watching that process. And it really is a beautiful process of how that opens and how this butterfly emerges. Well, you think that caterpillar knew inside that cocoon that this transformation was taking place?
Mhm.
If they did, wow, that cocoon would just open right up like a door. But it doesn't. It opens little by little and it expands and it expands. And finally it just falls off and you've got this beautiful butterfly. So the caterpillar has no idea what it's getting itself into. And it's got time in that cocoon to think about it. It really does. And I'm sure it's scared to death thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Let me out of here. But eventually, I believe that caterpillar says, I'm going to let it go. I'm just going to see what transpires from here. And I'll deal with it. When
Mhm.
I finally get out of this darn cocoon, I will figure it out from there. And I think as humans, we we kind of hesitate because it means we have to do more inner work and work in order to emerge from our cocoon. So I look at holding on as trying to stay in a cocoon or stay in something that either no longer serves you or isn't meant to serve you. Because if something is out of your control, as in my situation, there's nothing I could do about it. Absolutely nothing. I have to trust that what is going to happen is for the higher good, for me, for other people that are involved with it. And that from there, you have another plan of which way to go. Or you take your time and you say, okay, I'll deal with it when it happens because I don't have to have a plan right now. So I think it's just all about us realizing that things are going to happen with or without our permission, and we can't control everything. And like the caterpillar in a cocoon, we just have to wait and we have to see what happens. And I think it always works out for the best, even though at the time we might not realize it. Because if something doesn't work out in our favor, it may cause us some hardship, whether that's the loss of a friend, a job, a family member, anything, your health. We don't we don't see it first as this is what's going to serve me well. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to actually look at it, not that it's simple, but do that inner work and say, I trust in my inner guidance. I trust in a higher power. And whatever the outcome is, it's what's supposed to happen. And it is going to serve my highest good. So where do you go from there?
You know, Teresa, you brought up such good points, and you're aware of the radical ascension to the next dimension that I teach. In addition, obviously, to the sovereign leadership authority and the power. Are you really standing in your power? And it ties into a lot of what you have stated. And I had someone to ask me, and this is, ties into when it's time to let go. And I'm going to say move into the next dimension. So we were going through the various dimensions and the mindsets and the outcomes that you experience from mindset in actions. And they asked me, well, what's wrong with this third dimension? I'm successful. This is like where everything is coming together that I want. I'm, it's a place of comfort. I've got success. I'm making the money. I have the position. I'm excelling in my business or career or ministry is soaring. What is wrong with this dimension? And I said, it's not about anything being wrong with that dimension. It's about, is that your destiny? Because do you realize what is in the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, all the way up. Do you realize that as you progress into higher dimensions, because when it's time to let go, we can't confuse familiarity with destiny. So it's kind of like, so do you think that that's your destiny? Just because something has been with us for a long time and we've been really successful at it, it doesn't mean that it necessarily belongs solely for our future. Just because we survived, it doesn't mean that, excuse me, we're called to continue in a cycle of, okay, I go through something, I recover. I go through something, I recover. Just because we love deeply doesn't mean that we must remain where maybe that love is no longer honored. And maybe staying in that place is really preventing us from realizing what is even a more powerful place for us in this earth. So there are moments when letting go can be the most powerful form. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, self-respect. When walking away is the clearest announcement that our healing matters. I need to kind of move on. And when release becomes a doorway to the next level of progress. When we're in that mindset, we definitely are not going to leave angry. We're not going to have to leave loud. And we don't have to leave with any bitterness in our heart. But what we do walk away with is our truth. Because our truth says, I can't abandon myself and keep myself at a particular place when I know there are greater levels, dimensions, greater powerful things that I'm destined to accomplish that not only benefit us, but the world around us and the people that are in our lives. And I think when we can look at it from that perspective, and when we can see things of growth versus, oh, wow, now what's going to happen? Who's going to be mad at me? I think it's at that point that we are really moving into a more mature, heart-centered, divine-led life that has outcomes that we probably never really dreamed of.
Yeah. And also, you bring up two more topics, which we'll do in other weeks, is trust and forgiveness. That has to do with letting go. And I think the greatest lesson I learned with letting go was many years ago. I worked in mental health when I first started my career.
Mhm.
And one of the things we were taught was that we had a partner, and the partner stood behind us. And what we had to do was fall backwards, and we had to trust that the other person would catch us. And it was difficult because, you're just starting to work with these people, and it was part of our orientation
Mhm.
to get to trust each other, to trust to work together. And it was scary. It was scary, even though they put mats on the ground in case somebody really did fall or you couldn't hold on to somebody. It was a scary thing that all of a sudden you're just falling backwards and you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Is somebody going to catch me? Are they going to be able to hold on to me? Am I going to fall? And how am I going to feel? So again, it's about trust. And I think letting go is about trusting ourselves that whatever the outcome is, and trusting a higher power that whatever the outcome is, it serves our higher purpose, and that things will go on. Things will go on, and we'll find a way out of it. that regardless of what the situation is, it's not the end. There's something beyond that. And we have to trust that what is beyond that is in our higher purpose. So, any last words from you? Those were my last words. Any last words from you, Jacqueline?
Yes, this has been so great, and I agree. I love the other topics. Yes, let's talk about them. But to just close out on what you just said, there's nothing noble about dying slowly in places that we've already outlived. And sometimes the next dimension of our life begins not with an acquisition, but sometimes it begins with subtraction, letting go. Something goes away so that something new can come in. A door closes, maybe a relationship shifts. Sometimes a dream changes form, and sometimes the vision of what we thought begins to unravel. And then, as you gave the example of the caterpillar and the cocoon, sometimes it's being in the cocoon and knowing that what is going to unfold is going to be something greater, something more beautiful. And so I'm going to say holy undoing of letting go, we discover that it's not working for a destruction of us. It's really working to deliver us into what's next, that we just continue to grow, to blossom, and to prosper. So
That was beautifully said. And I would like to thank people for their comments. We do have a couple people commenting. One person is commenting in another language, which I do not understand the language. But thank you for your comments and thank you for joining us today. Jacqueline, thank you for joining the conversation. And it's a conversation that certainly could continue on the lines of trust and forgiveness. And I want to thank everyone and our subscribers and those of you on different social medias that are listening to us today and watching, and those that will be listening and watching the replay. I hope that we gave you some good information, some information that you could take and you could use it in a way that resonates with you. So thank you again for joining us from everybody at the Own It family. We thank you, and we will see you next week. Goodbye, everyone.